I hereby call on March 25th, 2024, a meeting of the Town of Hanson Planning Board to order at 6:30 PM. I would also like to announce for all those in attendance that this meeting is being recorded for distribution on Whitman-Hanson Community Access. Playback times and other related information on this recording may be found at WHCA TV. This evening we have all members present except for Mr. Campbell, who is running a little bit behind. He will be here. First thing on the agenda, we have 6:30 approval, March 4th, 2024, public meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion to approve, Mr. Kevin, and second, Mr. Benenato. Any discussion regarding that motion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right, so we got Mr. Benenato, aye, Mr. Kevin, aye, and I'm also an aye, and
Mr. Ellis is
abstain. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We don't have any public hearings this evening. First appointment, 6:35. Looks like we have to wait a couple of minutes.
You're waiting for Rhiannon and I'm holding fort for OCDC.
Yeah, she said that you were going to have, it was,
So don't feel like you
I'm sorry, I forget your name.
Jason.
Jason and
Bill.
Bill. Yeah.
So we'll just hang tight for a couple of minutes.
Well, I thought these guys were just gonna go ahead without us.
Oh, are they going to go ahead?
Yeah, they're ready to
little
go.
bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rhiannon's not going to be, so.
Oh, okay. All right, we're ready for you.
Okay, should I come sit up there or am I good here?
Sure, you can come up.
Feel like I'm flying in front of a grand jury?
All right, great, thank you.
That's the hot seat.
Yeah.
Floodlight will be on in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
So, good evening. My name is Jason DeRozier and I'm here representing the Old Colony Planning Council. I'm helping support the drafting of the public facilities and services chapter specifically. So I'm here just to get a sense on if you have any comments or feedback from the chapters that have been submitted to you up to this point, or if there's anything that excuse me, might have been missed, as well as give an update that you'll have some additional chapters by the end of this week, and the survey is now closed. We're doing sort of analysis and then generating some write-ups or summaries of the survey findings.
Excuse me, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
perfect. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Could you give the board, how many surveys did you receive?
For Hanson,
Yeah.
I can look it up real quick. I was just looking at the East Bridgewater. So it looks like for Hanson, download file. Looks like just about 257.
Okay, so 257, and are you guys still accepting additional?
No, the survey's been closed.
Those are closed.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we could keep it up forever, but you know.
Okay,
so
great,
It's
yeah.
been closed, and now we're going to be spending probably about a week to a week and a half, sort of like writing up all the responses.
Okay, great.
In fact,
Yeah, go ahead.
So, the amount of people that answered the survey, is that below average or above average for other communities that you've dealt with?
Yeah, I think it all depends. So, in my experience doing sort of like community engagement surveys, I think 257 is a pretty good number. You know, sort of within context of East Bridgewater, where I'm also like helping with the master plan, I think there's around 600 survey responses, so it all depends. I think our response rate for that number is pretty good and what's we're looking for, comparable to other efforts.
Okay.
I mean, East Bridgewater population is probably, what, at least twice, right? So, least twice what Hanson is. Because I know those towns are in the, about 20, I know Bridgewater's like 26,000,
Probably.
29,000. So East Bridgewater has a larger population than Hanson for sure.
Yeah, comparable to population size, the survey responses are pretty good.
If I may, Mr. Chair, so for the rest of the members of the planning board, so the Old Colony Planning Council sent out a few chapters of the master plan. Rhiannon, who had been here before, and so they were sort of sequestered, let's say, to not discuss it with the publicly. So that's why you're not seeing anything in your packets. So that's what they're here this evening to talk about. So the members of the Master Plan Steering Committee, if they have any comments, or if they're for the record, or that they've written down, so that way we can. Would it be fair to say that after tonight, the rest of the members of the planning board could look at those chapters as well?
I would think so.
Okay.
So, are you gonna release the next 3 chapters in the next week or so?
I think that's the goal. Yeah.
The goal, okay, perfect.
That's what the plan is.
Do you have any comment from anyone in the audience?
Any of the members of the
Any
Master Plan
members?
Steering Committee?
No comments? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, anything additional we should know?
Nope, just looking for comments, feedback, again, sort of like the chapters by the end of the week, and that you will receive the analysis and the write-up of the surveys at some point early April, I would say within the first 2 weeks of it.
Okay, all right, great. So the members that are present, if we could just see if there's any comments that we can forward along to you, that'd be great.
Great.
All right, awesome. And thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Looks like we have a couple more minutes before our 6:45, so we'll pause for a couple of minutes.
Can I still ask him a question?
I think so, yeah, I think that would be acceptable.
Excuse me.
Mr. Cummett has an additional question.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
You know, I felt like it's always been my understanding that the planning board wanted to make all the roads in town public at some point. Is that articulated in the master plan?
So it could be, I'll make a note of that, it could be, I'm not personally working on the transportation portion of the
Okay.
plan. I'm sort of like writing about sort of like public facilities, town hall, highway department, that sort of thing.
So a road?
So I'll bring it back to the team to figure out sort of like, just making sure that that's included in the plan
Okay.
for the next 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Great question.
Jason, I have a question. I'm reading the town facilities chapter.
Yep.
It's really a town building chapter.
Yep.
Do non-building facilities appear in the master plan somewhere?
Probably, but do you have like an example of a non-building facility that you think should cover?
Roadway?
I'm sorry?
Roadway?
Roadways would be one, or I guess if they're not public, then not really yet, but
Recreation assets.
thinking about like, you know, like we have a planning committee that's looking at like the High Street property. We have some town assets that, like the Hawks Avenue property that would like to do something in the next 10 years, I presume. Things like that, the town, maybe assets as opposed to facilities.
Yeah, so I think assets would fall under open space, recreation, or cultural, and sort of like those sorts of things. I had a lot more sort of written up in my particular chapter that Rhiannon was like, no, this makes sense over here. So it will probably be covered somewhere else, but not. The public facilities chapter is really focused on like town-owned, managed, sort of like brick and mortar, sort of like fire department.
Town building.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if they were covered.
The other types of facilities would be the types that are covered in the open space and recreation plan, conservation open space recreation plan. So you have recreational parcels, open space that the town may want to do something with it, if they get it down the line. Pathways, things like that, public access to waterways, those types of things that the town facilities under control, looking towards, and you have to mix them all in with your master plan, but they usually appear in the open space plan as well, which the open space plan is pretty much, you know, good 20-25% of the master plan, too. That can be rolled in, so you're on the right track.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
can I just, I just wanted to throw one thing out there, I think what he's talking about, right, is like some of the assets that we have in the town, we're attempting to turn those into, brick and mortar, buildings, we have Plymouth County Hospital, there's a building in the front that, there was hoped to use that as an annex for the, town hall or other uses that might be in there. So I think it would be a good idea to include that under, facilities. Same with Hawks Ave, the hope is to turn that into a usable facility for the use by the town for something, whatever that may be. So I think, calling it open space would be kind of disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, there's existing unused buildings on the Hawks Ave parcel,
Yeah,
and the town owns the Bonnie House, right?
yep,
If right now it's used, its primary use is open space, you can still look at it as a potential multiple use property in
Okay.
this context, where you might be doing something with buildings, with pathways, connectivity, town facilities there. Yeah, that's the way you would look at it.
Okay.
Look at all the potential for the land.
Okay, and I just want to make note, 6:39, Mr. Campbell entered, and I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Chairman Campbell.
Thank you. I appreciate the coverage. So we seem like there's board discussion between ourselves and Old Colony Planning Council. Can we open up to the floor?
We did open up to the floor. There was a couple of questions, comments. We have a couple more minutes.
How are we doing as far as the survey, do you know? The
Yeah.
online survey?
So survey's now closed. Now we're working on analysis of the surveys. Approximately 257 surveys, I think.
Yeah,
already.
not bad.
No, not bad at all. So we'll sort of like be taking the survey analysis, analyzing the results, the responses, and then turning that into a summary write-up that we'll share with the planning board and steering committee early April.
Great. Next dates?
Sorry for that.
Yeah, for your steering committee, the next dates, and then you have appearance is an appearance coming up before the select board, correct?
I believe so. Rhiannon might not have shared those specific dates with me, but I know we have a meeting coming up. Hanson Master Plan Steering Committee is April 8th, Monday, April 8th.
And that's gonna be here in Town Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that would be the planning board's next meeting.
Well, that's the next appearance. Don't we have an upcoming discussion that we're supposed to put forward to the select board? Is that not until after the survey closes, right? That's gonna be presented to the select board?
Possibly, like I said, Rhiannon.
Yeah, I think it was
like,
May or June.
I'm temporary part-time. They only give me the information that I
I
have.
had a note from, I'm saying, I'm gonna go with Megan now. That's right.
Megan Fournier?
No, Rhiannon.
Rhiannon.
Yeah,
Rhiannon. Yeah.
I had a note from
Dude.
the last notes about appearance before the select board, so I want to make sure that we stay on top of that.
And I'll inquire about that.
I think it was after, I think the notes are after the survey closed.
Okay.
Anything for the steering committee, anything else from the board? Do you guys need anything else from us? Great.
So when they get those chapters to me, I'll pass them along to the steering committee.
Perfect. For 6:45, and then we'll move on our agenda. So before we move on to our 6:45, please pass on our thanks to the rest of OCPC. Appreciate your time, and for the steering committee as well. Appreciate your time and your efforts moving forward. It's making pretty good progress. Seeing the time had arrived for 6:45, the next item of agenda on our appointments section is update and discussion of progress on the Quan Street tip project. Town planner.
So, we received a email from Old Colony Planning Council that the tip for McQuon Street is sort of, I'm gonna use the term sidelined
Yeah.
in their group of projects, because there hasn't been a lot of forward movement in solving the issue with the Abington-Rockland water line. It doesn't mean that the project is dead as far as Old Colony Planning Council is concerned or Mass DOT is concerned. It just means that they're going to, let's say, invest their time and energy into projects that they know they can sort of move forward. So that being said, I know, Mr. Chair, you had asked about a cost to date that the town has spent on the project. I did get an email from Jim Fitzgerald of Environmental Partners, who's been assisting the town with this project. And he says that the town has spent $472,244.80. That would be essentially lost if the town walked away from the project. What we do have is, there is an earmark for Hanson for $100,000 to go towards the subsurface underground engineering survey, which will be to locate via borings the water line, its depth, be located horizontally, vertically, and they'll be able to get some information regarding its condition. So what we're doing, I'm working with the town administrator in obtaining a proposal from Environmental Partners and a contractor that would perform that work. And then we can submit that as part of the earmark to get the $100,000. Once we get that, then we'll use the $100,000 to actually do that boring, that SUE. And then once we get the information or the results from that SUE, then we can get a better idea of what's going on with that water line, and maybe it'll change the status. That's the biggest obstacle at this point, is that water line. So until we do the SUE, there's not a lot more information to necessarily provide. As a result of the SUE, I mean, it might give Hanson more ability to communicate with Abington Rockland, and it might give them more information to make a determination as to, you know what, maybe it is time to change, to upgrade the water line and make it part of the project. So that's where we're at this point.
Kevin.
I just want to ask you a quick question. Doesn't Abington, Rockland know the condition of their own water line and exactly where it is? Or no?
I'm not sure what kind of plans they have. They obviously know, they have an idea of, I'm sure they do have an idea of what the condition of the water line is.
Right.
The last time we had a conversation with them, they stated that they felt it was in good condition. It was a 1-inch thick cast iron. I had found some information where that line may have been concrete lined in the 50s. But beyond that, I don't know anything about it.
So I guess, like when they were repairing it and working on it, I would have thought they would have surveys on record as to its location. I mean, they would have had it done survey.
Well, this SUE is a requirement by the Mass DOT on all their projects.
Yeah, okay.
They want to, when it comes to these projects now, they want to know about all these utilities to prevent any damage during the construction process. So all their projects are requiring. This was a new wrinkle, if you will, that came to light in about 2023, mid to late 2023, as a requirement for MassDOT.
How many bores do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna do, because I know right now the area of concern is just past McQuon Pond, that rise that goes up as you're heading towards Pembroke. Are they gonna bore a few different areas?
I think Environmental Partners, if my memory serves me right, talked about maybe 20 borings over the length of that project. So, you know, that's 100,000 is SUE, but the town's still gonna have to come up with more money, because by the time it's said and done, it'll probably be more like 120 to 130,000.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the town planner in regards to the McCollington project? 6:50, we're gonna move on with a review and discussion of Article 2-7, Section 5, Streets and Highways of the Hanson General Bylaw. John Planner.
So, what I want to bring to the board's attention is, we've had discussions in the past regarding, private ways and a process of maybe getting private ways to become public ways and/or work being done on the private ways. So in, general bylaw, Article 2-17, Section 5, the town does have a section that talks about what type of temporary repairs they'll do to a private way. And what you'll find is that it mirrors, just call this up. It mirrors, chapter MGL, hold on a second. It mirrors MGL 40, Section 6N. So you'll see that it's almost the language is almost verbatim. And this bylaw, so what you can do is, under MGL 40, Section 6N, if you create a bylaw, if you accept the bylaw under this section, it sort of gives you the ability to talk about what will you and what will you not do on a private way, and costs and liabilities. So one of the things I had given the board was just a different community, for instance, that had adopted regulations under that general law, and what they do and what they don't do. So, you know, this is what they do for temporary repairs of private ways. One of the things that's different, let's say from Hanson, is they talk about a betterment. You know, when they talk about funding temporary repairs, when they talk about drainage installation, or the fact that it's done under an abutters petition. So what I'm saying is that because Hanson has accepted this, has created a bylaw under MGL with 6N, that's the section under the general bylaw that you could make amendments that say are similar to this community. Obviously through the assistance of town council, as far as, so the policy that sort of kicked around for a while is something that we could look at with town council and seeing if and how it could be implemented. So you may consider, after you read everything, you may consider looking at it as an amendment to the general bylaw, maybe for October or next year, you know, how you might want to proceed regarding private ways and what, you know.
I don't think that they were really agreeable or thought that the betterment assessment would be very fruitful for the town. I know that was one of the things that they had kind of kicked around and kicked back. Do we know where that sits right now? Is it still with council doing edits or omits, or they finalized that and sent it back?
Council did send paperwork back, which I believe I made it part of your package there. And then I had said, you know, the town, at the time I wasn't aware that the town had approved that MGL section. So when I brought that up to town council, they said, oh, well, that could change things. So, so I'm bringing this forward to the board, more of a, do you wish to pursue something like, open this up again and look at it with town council and discuss it?
So what we've received back from that's fine, that's their edits, omits, final draft, this is their.
Right, but that was prior to realizing that the town had
MGL application.
correct.
Have you reached out to Highway to talk to them to find out if they have any input about what they would see?
Not as of yet, but there's been a personnel change at Highway, so I think they're still trying to figure out that situation there.
What does the board think? You think would it be a better idea to maybe have Highway come in to the next meeting, ask them if they can come appear at the next meeting, have a discussion with the new personnel over there to see if they have any input, or?
Yeah.
It's a pretty impacting change.
Yeah. We're in favor of that. Do you want a motion for that? Or?
Well, it would be a motion to postpone with the inclusion, I guess, at the next meeting.
Okay, so move.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Kemet, seconded by Mr. Cohen in regards to postponing any further discussion until our next planning board meeting, which would be tentative Monday, April 8th, to include highway. Any discussion in regards to that motion?
Abstain.
We have to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And any abstentions? You abstaining?
Abstain.
So 401, Tony. So we'll put that on as a postponement as, and see if we can get staff in on the 8th. And I think that their add to that is going to be significant because a lot of the stuff is underneath highways, so, and it's streets and roads. Great. Move on to board business, town planner update, town planner.
So the first thing I'd like to bring up is the grant process and give you an update. So the One Stop grant will open on May 1st. I had submitted some expressions of interest, which garnered feedback, and they give you an idea, basically, yes, go ahead, this is a good project to move forward with, what section or what grant you should be looking at. And so right now I have 7 potential applications for the One Stop. One being funding for the open space and recreation plan. Second is, again, going for 228 High Street, the building out front there, as an underutilized building, to try and get monies for renovations to that building. Funding for the housing production plan. Funding for sidewalks from Main Street, on Main Street from High Street to Route 58. The town had created some plans back in 2002, I believe, so this would be funding to update these plans. Examine a possible 40R district on Main Street, which would be an overlay to our existing flexible overlay zone. So in other words, turn into a 40R, because when you have it as a 40R, any affordable unit you create, you get money for. 212 Industrial Boulevard, which is the vacant lot, the one lot left within the industrial park. It's basically, it fronts on there's frontage on Franklin Street and frontage on Industrial Boulevard. It's town owned. So similar to what we're doing right now with 0 West Washington Street. Get a consultant to take a look at the resource areas, soils and all of that, see what you could get out of it. Hawks Ave, underutilized, to see if we can get money to bring those buildings back. So those 7 right there total just under $2.2 million. And those are estimates as far as, the monies. Then under the DER and our MVP action grants, looking at 2 grants for Pratt Place, which would be getting monies for design to replace the culvert on Pratt Place. And then another one under the MVP action grant to seek out a generator for the library and senior center. Those total to just over 200,000, so you're looking at just under 2.4 million total in funding being requested under these grants. Two of them are due the beginning of April, the other ones will be due between May 1st and June. So that's what we have for grants. Any questions on that? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. The next thing is we have an invoice that we need the signature on. And that's for an invoice from Old Colony Planning Council for the master plan.
Any questions in regards to endorsing the invoice for OCPC $16,388.53?
The balance on that, you know?
And what is the balance that's left over from that?
That's coming out of the grant. I'd have to look that one up to see what.
Original grant was,
That the original grant was 60,000, and then there was a DLTA grant for 30,000, and then the town kicked in another 10. So we still have.
this is the first invoice that's coming out of that.
That's the second. That is the second invoice that we have, and the two invoices have come out of the one-stop
Okay,
grant funding for those two invoices.
so probably about.
So I think we're about. Yeah, about that, maybe 60% from the one-stop grant.
From the one-stop grant. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So the next item is, when I had come on as town planner, first day in the office, there was no personnel, there wasn't anything. So one thing that I had started working on with Jill when she came on was a policies and procedures manual. And we had a working manual that we kept in the office
Nice.
to put together for anyone that.
Yes.
Correct. And so what I asked Kim to do was to go through it, update it, and basically we want to create this policies and procedures manual that will allow for any new staff that might come on in the planning board. It gives them a hands-on, here's what you do for, whether it's preparation of warrants, invoices, setting up meetings, booking the conference rooms. So it's a draft, but it's a work in progress. If there's any edits or additions that the board would like to see, we could add to it. What you're gonna find, Kevin, is the fact that we made 3 copies, so that we weren't killing a lot of trees, so I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that, so you have to share. So you kinda have to share. So basically, that is it's a step-by-step playbook. So if for some reason that office is empty again, the next person at least has something to pick up and look at and from day one and know how to do things. Or at least how it's done in this town.
Any opportunity to include a flow chart, like a timeline flow chart?
Just for, say, if you submit a Form A, how many days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something quick.
Yeah.
I think I actually have a rough draft copy of something.
Yeah, I think, I know one of the organizations, I have one that's a flow chart. That's for A&Rs and then subdivision plans.
I'm due from the most common subdivision plan, include preliminary as a
Yeah.
definitive, keep
Yeah.
that in there.
Yeah.
A&R, yeah.
And this is a living document, so
Yeah.
it's continuously improving, so it's good because it's not only policies and procedures, but like what Tony said, it's a continuity book too.
Great.
Yeah, we're trying to keep everything in there. Everything that's basically on the day-to-day with the department. So at least, like I said, when I'm gone, or if Kim is gone, any new staff can pick up the book and say, okay, I need to do a warrant. Well, how do they do it in Hanson? Here's a step-by-step. If they need to book the room, if they need to, what, Form As, the applications themselves,
Great.
So I have a question for you.
Mr. Kemp.
Let's say you go, right? How will we know, or even when you're here, well, how will we know that this living document is actually being updated? I guess what I'm saying is like, should that be a regular, maybe twice a year agenda item, or?
We could-
Work then?
We can make it like a once-a-year agenda item. It doesn't really change, Or if there's any changes, obviously that happen. If there's any policies that a town hall policy that changes that affects the department, we can, include that and bring you up to date.
Okay.
So,
Put it as part of the town planner annual update.
Yeah.
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 Great, thanks, Tony. HPP and open space and recreation plan update, next on the agenda.
so this sort of ties back into the grants. The housing production plan, seeking grant funding, but also have reached out to CPC to look at funding for the housing production plan through them. We do have an article that's going before town meeting for funding there. We've made it so that we're going to word the article so that if, let's say, we find another funding source that covers the housing production plan, that money goes back to the CPC. And then I'm going to be approaching the CPC on our open space and recreation plan as well. So trying to find multiple funding sources. And again, seems with the CPC, it has to go through town meeting. If we get a grant, then you don't have to go through town meeting. But if we don't get the grant, then we have that as a funding source so that we can get those two back up and running. Or get them, updated so that they're in compliance, if you will. And the last thing is outstanding projects and bonds. I've put in a request and I'll be speaking with town council under MGL 41 section 81U, I believe it was, which the town did adopt. Which the town did adopt. I'm going to work with town council. We've reached out to these developers that have outstanding bonds on all the projects and really haven't, I've sent them letters, 2-3 letters, certified letters, not getting any response or feedback. So I'm going to work with town council, and because that was approved under the general bylaw, work with town council about going after the bond and getting the bond monies. Obviously, my understanding, the bond monies goes into the general fund, so maybe October, and then maybe look at articles to sort of take that fund, ask for that funding to be moving back so it can go towards those outstanding projects. And that's what I have at this point.
Great. Any questions for the town planner? The next item of business is to establish our next planning board meeting date tentatively for Monday, April 8th, 2024. 6:30 PM.
So moves.
Motion made by Mr. Cohen,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Benonato for our next planning board meeting date to be Monday, April 8th, 2024, at 6:30 PM. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Unanimous. We will have our next meeting date, April the 8th. Last item of business is adjourned.
We're gonna do the gavel.
The chair, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Kemet, seconded by Mr. Ellis for adjournment. Any discussion in regards to that motion? Nope. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7:10, we are adjourned.